This is such a big thing, right?
Thank you.
Come on, Jim. Good morning, Colin.
Hello and welcome to Qatar's first sports podcast, In the Game. I'm your host, Steve Mackey, and we can't wait to introduce you to everything that is sports here in Qatar and afar. We're going to be bringing you personalities, company owners, institutions, individuals that are making a real difference. So, with us, enjoy the journey.
Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. Today, for all you South Africans out there, you're going to know this person in an instant. But for people that don't know him, his name is Carl Brown. He's a rugby player, a sevens rugby player from South Africa. It's a very big time. We've got the World Cup coming up. Please welcome to the show.
Cheers. Thanks very much for having me. I'm quite excited. I didn't even know that Qatar had a sports podcast. So
well, we're trying.
This is a damn good start. So
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So tell everyone, you just come in today, right?
Yeah. We have Heritage Day coming up on the 24th in South Africa. So they're holding an event tomorrow night with the South Africans in Doha community. And it's the theme is culturally South African. And we're going to get around and do what we do best. And that's have a good braai, talk a lot and just mingle well. And probably escalate into a bit of a party at some point.
Is this your first time to Qatar?
I was actually chatting to Brad earlier. It's not my first time. My first time was a layover. Okay. And we popped in for a day and into the big city. It was the older airport. So when I arrived today, I was blown away.
Yeah, it's amazing. Right?
I didn't realize that there were different locations altogether. So I said to Brad, wow, they've done a real number on the airport here, you know? Yeah. Apparently it's two separate places altogether.
Yeah,
so
no, it is.
Incredible.
Yeah. It's incredible. It is what they're doing here, and it just doesn't stop. It's just so much of development. It's well, the World Cup's coming.
Yeah.
But that brings me on to something else, and we're going to talk about what you were involved with, but the Rugby World Cup this week.
Yeah. So I think, if you're excited, you can imagine how South Africa is excited. We go nuts for rugby in South Africa. So we've got a wonderful young team, very energetic, and I think very high hopefuls for this World Cup. We've over the last year we spent a lot of good time progressing and finding combinations. You know how it is going into these 6 weeks now. The idea is that they live in each other's faces, in each other's pockets for 6 weeks, and the off-field and the chemistry on the field, that whole thing has to gel so well for such a long period of time, and that's what makes the World Cup so special. It's not a once-off. It's game after game after game, and then eventually the team that can tick all those boxes every single game walks away with it.
I kind of I know that South Africa's got a very good chance of winning it this year.
I know England's got a good chance of winning.
They've all got a good chance. It's going to really, and you look at it. If any one of those on the performance on the day can win this World Cup, and there's so many of them. There's so many of them with the chance. I would like to think that England was going to win. But you've got to. Okay. Let me tell you where I like South Africa was when I was younger. The thing was when you won the World Cup back in South Africa. Oh yeah. That for me was fantastic. What with the apartheid and with Nelson Mandela and the way the film. I love the film with the it was just
I don't know
tremendous.
If the film's the best representation, but it gives you a good idea of how things went.
For me, from a sports, I used to be a sports person, but it was just so much. It was like watching a Rocky film. It was like one of those.
One of those epic moments. I think we've spoken so much in South Africa about how sport has the power to unify people, and that's exactly what we try to achieve. And I think a lot of the time when a South African runs onto the playing field for his representing his country, his or her country, so much of that is understood. So much of that is that you're not just an ambassador for the country, but you're there to provide and create hope within the country that is going through tough times and rocky patches, and I suppose like every country has, and we like to be that hope generation, so that when the Monday morning comes round and maybe things aren't so fantastic, people can wake up and say, we had a wonderful weekend because of this and this. And if you look at our team, the sevens team specifically, what we have is a lot of people who are incredibly relatable, so we don't have the 2 meters and 6 centimeters giants in the team. We've got a lot of guys, and sevens lends itself to that, who look like your nephew or your friend's mate or your cousin or something like that, and that's how we identify so nicely, and we relate so well to everybody, to the general public, is that people can see that could be me, that could be my son, because he doesn't have to be in 15s. There are some specimens there, some real beasts, And then sevens kind of opens up the field for the smaller guys, to really showcase their talents where they might be a little bit shut down on the 15s field. So we've got this, core group of players that has done such wonderful things over the years, and we've been able to relate so nicely with the South African public that we are, I reckon we're probably one of the darling children of the South African sporting community.
Yeah. I love the sevens, and everybody, just so that we were just talking about the sevens. You were in the Olympics in 2016, right?
Yeah. So that was the first time that rugby's been back in the Olympics for I want to say 50-something years. The last holders of the gold medal were the USA, so that had to end very quickly.
Okay.
So Fiji went on to win the Olympics in Rio. Incredible experience, really, really incredible experience. So we in South Africa, we don't have a real Olympic culture, but I think it's slowly starting to grow. I think what our athletes, especially our athletes, have done over the last couple of years, the likes of Wade van Niekerk, who's been obliterating records over time. I think he actually trains here, doesn't he?
We met him. I literally met him, had some photos taken. It was
he's
really
an
good.
Incredible guy.
Very
incredible guy. Yeah.
So humble.
Yeah, very relaxed, very humble, very chill.
Dear, it was just a pleasure to meet him.
If you had met him in the street, you wouldn't even know that
he's
an
exactly.
Olympic gold medalist or record holder.
Yeah.
So I think slowly but surely that Olympic culture is starting to grow in South Africa, and we're starting to appreciate what the Olympics is all about. For us, I think in the public's eye, the Rugby World Cup is real pinnacle. It's a real big hit in South African sporting community's calendar. Yeah. But the Olympics is, I tell you what, from the time that I arrived to the time that I left, my perspective on the Olympics changed completely. It's incredible to see the small city of people coming to. I think there's about 25,000 athletes hosted in the Olympic Village, and all just coming there to achieve one thing: it's to compete at the highest level for their country. That's it. The medals are a bonus,
Okay, so tell me, the first time with the Olympics, because you won a bronze medal.
Yeah.
What was it like just stepping out onto that pitch? You played so many games, but it must have been so special for the Olympics to step out on the pitch.
It's different, it's really different. You never know what to expect. So we had this thing about one-off tournaments, because we were really good. Our World Series gets played in two tournaments, twos the whole time. So one-offs are challenging, because you've got to hit the ground running straight away. And the Olympics was, one of those really tough tournaments. So you progress, and in the World Series, you don't really take your pool games, they don't mean too much. You just have to, you get them done, and so that you can get into the knockout games.
Yeah.
But every single game is like a final. And when we got to the quarterfinal stages, and we had seen the teams that didn't even progress to the quarterfinals, and we got to the semifinals, and Australia and Argentina and New Zealand, and there's tears because we're all, the change rooms all close together, and you see how guys, there's just tears streaming down their face. They've missed the opportunity to win a medal at the Olympic Games. And it starts to dawn on you how the how big this is, and how the immensity of the Olympics for so many of those athletes.
And the feeling, that the adrenaline and everything, it just must be incredible.
Yeah, I think you do get used to it. You learn to silence the crowd a little bit, or at least you learn to channel it in the right direction. I used to tell a lot of the younger guys, because we play at home once in the whole 10-stop series.
Yeah,
I mean, you can run out in London to a 50,000-seater crowd, and they're screaming. You can't really hear what they're screaming about, so you might as well think they're screaming for you.
Yeah.
You can't hear individuals' voice saying, "Come on, England." So, channel a bit of that energy. You take it on board. If you don't, you don't. If you do, it's fantastic.
Yeah. That's just amazing.
It's an interesting thing to manage, because it can get the better of you. It can be a little overwhelming from time to time.
And how do you prepare before a match? How do you...
Long and hard. And so pre-season, the guys are actually in pre-season now. I finished up playing at the end of May, 1st of June. I was officially retired. And so I'm happy that I'm not going into the pre-season. Pre-season in sevens it looks more like an athletics camp.
Right.
There's a lot of running, a lot of running. Probably an athletics and wrestling camp.
Yeah.
They do a lot of contact work, and they actually flew over to Munich yesterday. There's a pre-season tournament there at the Oktoberfest Sevens. And they'll play a couple of those pre-season tournaments, get ready, and they'll hit the ground running first week of December in Dubai. First tournament of the series is always in Dubai. It's a very special place. So the Middle East has captured a little bit of my heart.
Yeah, Dubai is doing really well with the sevens.
Yeah.
But it's funny. We just talked briefly, and I said I would scare the life out of me trying to play sevens, because your lungs are going to die, right? If you're not fit.
You know, at school I played water polo, and water polo is a fantastic sport if you're fit.
Yeah.
If you are not fit, it's about 20 minutes of drowning. You just
I
drown
was just
the whole day.
somebody's going to drown you.
Yeah, somebody's drowning.
Yeah.
And I think sevens is a lot like that. It's one of those games that is only a great game if you're fit and you enjoy it, and you can actually move around the park. Because for those that don't know, sevens is the exact same size pitch as a game of 15. So the field dimensions officially are 100 meters length by 70 meters wide.
Yeah.
And you're now 7 people on the field as opposed to 15 aside, which means you normally play 6 up front with 1 as a sweeper, like a fullback kind of thing.
Yeah.
So now you've got over 10 meters space between each person. And when you start doing that, and then you make 1 tackle, and then there's 5 in a line, and now all of a sudden the gaps are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you just have to learn to move quicker and quicker and quicker. It's I think that's why, surprisingly, there's actually a lot of structure in sevens. People think, for a long time, people thought that sevens is, throw around, toss the ball, see how it goes.
Yeah.
Fijian style.
Yeah.
So we can't play that game of rugby. so we automatically resort back to a bit more structure, and that's worked incredibly well for us over the last 10 years.
Yeah, because it's not an easy game. I love watching it, by the way. And we were doing quite well. The England team were doing quite well at some stage. But
so we actually lost to the Great Britain team in the semi-final of the Olympics.
Really?
Really
that's
tight
really
game.
good for me. I should have done a little bit more research. I could have had a bit of banter with you. But that. So so you're telling the story. Let's go back, because I normally ask people at the beginning of the show, how did it all start off for you? So we've gone through the picture. So how did it start off for you?
Start off is a long story. I luck of the draw, really. So I was probably never meant to be a professional rugby player. We've got great structures in South Africa to channel schoolboys into a professional rugby, and I was never even picked for any of those structures. I didn't go to our Craven Week, which is under 18.
Okay.
And I played a little bit of club rugby. I was spotted by a guy named Alan Zondag, and he said to me, "Do you want to come to a rugby academy after school?" And I was actually doing a stooge year in England. I went to Old Windsor.
Okay.
And I'd already committed to that, so I said, "I'm sorry, can I come back the following year?" And went there, learned a little bit about rugby. Ultimately ended up going to the University of Cape Town.
Okay.
And we've got a tournament called the Varsity Cup. And the first year that I played there, 2008, was the very first year of the Varsity Cup, which has now blown up into an amazing pathway for rugby players, that people get a lot more exposure through university rugby than they do through some of the lower level professional tiers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty incredible. So I got a look in there, and then towards the end of that season, we were preparing for the next Varsity Cup, and I had tested very well. In September time, sort of random time of the season, which actually the start of your season, it's the end of ours. And I got spotted by a biokineticist who phoned his friend, who was the biokineticist at Springbok 7 side, and said, "This guy tested quite well. Do you want to see him?" And I got a call and said, "Do you want to come train with us?" And sort of never looked back from there.
Dear me.
It was really luck of the draw, time and place, being prepared, and it's a nice story to tell kids. You never really know who's watching, who's looking, and this testing happened on a Monday night. It could have been, I might have not taken it very seriously at all. But we went there, we tested myself and another guy who actually ended up playing for England Sevens, Matt Turner. I've heard the name. Very, very talented young man. And we tested quite well that night and ended up working out so well for us.
Isn't it so strange? I've got so many guests that's come on. It's only been 3 months for us with the podcast. And it's been such a journey for me, because I'm meeting people like yourself. Yeah. But I'm meeting individuals on the podcast that are coming out with the same stories. And a lot of them are looking up and saying it was by pure chance. One guy, he looked up, he's a scratch golfer. Okay, and Jaham, and basically he asked his brother. His brother was getting time off school in the afternoons, and he looked up and he said, "How come you're getting the time off getting time off?" Yeah. He said, "I'm playing golf." He said, "I'm going to go. I'm
going to play that too. I want some time off."
And that's the thing. He's played in the Qatar Masters. It's just an incredible story. But you listen to all of the stories that people come out with. It's just unbelievable. There's so many people that have got the same, not exactly the same story as yours, but the story of just pure by chance. It was the coach that picked them up.
It's by chance, but I think if you dig deep into it, it's one of those stories of perseverance and fighting through, and what do they always say about that characters? Characters, what what you do when people aren't looking. So, it's one of those things that, do you rock up and you just give it half-assed because you're not sure who's watching, or you don't actually care, and it's how much you and then I suppose there's that very broad sweeping statement, how badly do you want it, which is probably too loaded for this conversation, but it is. I mean, how much are you going to go give on a time when you're not sure who's watching, that you've given already 20 different opportunities? Are you going to give on the 21st one? Yeah. And that's the one, I guarantee you, when you don't, somebody's going to be there going, oh, well, he wasn't very good today. So.
Yeah. Again, I'm going over, things are coming back in my mind. It's Marion Farad. She's the 400-metre runner and the 400 hurdlers runner, and she was there was something, people like yourself have got a little bit of sparkle dust on you. That's how I explain. There's something there about you and individuals that have something special, and you've got to give you full credit for that. And Marion was exactly the same person where she was giving it everything, and she said, I push it so much that I shouldn't say this, but I'm vomiting it at the end. And I'm saying, but if you want to go that far, you've got to be doing it. If you're not doing it, it's wrong. You've got to be doing it.
It's all those things that other people don't want to do, that you have to venture into and keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
You have to, and it's lovely to hearing the stories with yourself. So you kind of, I want to go back to the rugby on the weekend. So we're kind of getting up to it, and I will be cheering on South Africa as well, because I'll have a team as well apart from England. But I'm looking forward to it. So who's your star players in the team?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good flash in the team. I think what we were chatting about earlier is that I think it's a young team, and that's what gets you excited about it, because they have shown that they're capable of beating anybody at any time. The difference with the World Cup is that it's a World Cup over, I think it's about 6 weeks, and you've got to play every single game, and you've got to get closer to being perfect every single game, and that's the whole thing about it. So with the young team sometimes comes a lack of maturity, and with the lack of maturity comes possibly a lack of consistency. So we'll have to see how they've grown as a team, how they've matured over the last couple of months, because they spent a lot of time together. Purposefully, they spent a lot of time together, and that might be to fast track their consistency. Yeah. So I think what you'll see is the last couple of games we saw them, they played some really clinical rugby. When they were setting up, when they were running hard, they're running to space, they're being very effective in the contact situation, and they're also playing some really cool moves. We haven't seen a South African backline play elusive runners, block runners, and behind the back and skip passes, and some very sneaky stuff that was pulled out, and the kind of one where it ends up in a try and they go to the coach's box and the coach is sitting there like this, just nodding, and it came off. That's what he had in his mind, and it came off that day. So our absolute arch enemy is New Zealand, and I'd say that with tongue in cheek. We are the greatest competitors on the field. Yeah. And massive respect between the two nations. So it's going to be quite a thunderous occasion on Saturday. And what a way to start the World Cup.
Hey, listen,
an unnecessary way to start the
Wherever your
World Cup.
barbecues is, I want to be with you, because I'm sure you're going to be watching the game, and I'm coming. I will be there. So it's really exciting, and the All Blacks are just something special. They've always had a special place in rugby. I know that sometimes we've had it in Australia and everybody and yourselves,
but in patches. No? I mean, they've managed to do it over a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, and I remember, and I know that he's passed away now, which is sad, but Lomu. Yeah, he was he was like, dear me, how'd you take this guy down?
Yeah, temple of a man.
Oh my word, it was unbelievable. I love rugby, and I do love rugby. But it's funny, I was saying to you before, because I know that you've had loads of interviews by people before, and I'm saying, look, be easy with me, be easy with me. But it's so good that you're kind of talking, because there are people out there that listen to the podcast. It's not just from a sporting perspective, but you've come out with all the things that you've been saying about today. It will help so many people. And so many young kids as well. And I think that's here, sport and the podcast here. I'm excited because we're breaking down barriers.
Well, the thing is, we've got to try as much as possible lead the conversation in a way that creates parallels between sports and every other aspect in life.
You're correct. So 100%.
If somebody wants to look at it in a very closed environment, it can just be sport. That we can chat about sport, and you can listen to this whole podcast and just think sport the whole time. Yeah. But there really are. And even when people spoke to me about this the first time, I thought, well, sport is sport. It's not really serious, But there are really many links between different situations, and the amount of things that we learn being put through adversity in sport, and what you endure and what you grow and how you develop through those moments, enables you to confront life and confront the different situations and the, sort of the dark spaces and the curveballs that life does throw to you.
And it's I love, honestly, I'm really enjoying this so much. But it's right what you said. Life isn't you don't look for it all the time with rosy-coloured specs.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's really difficult. It's really to push yourself. It's like when it's a lonely place. It can be a lonely place too.
Yeah.
And criticism, it's hard to take. It's like you hear people in the background, and it's just so difficult. But I was a sportsman in my younger life. So I was a windsurfing instructor. I was a canoeing instructor.
Yeah.
I used to play rugby. I used to play hockey. How we used to play that with that hard ball was incredible. We were just
I've
stupid.
seen a couple of people hit in the face with that. And
oh my word! And we never had all the with the short corners. I don't know if you know, but the short corners.
No masks, nothing.
No, the goalie had it, but you were there running out trying to dive in front of the ball.
In front of a moving projectile.
It's like I still don't understand to this day. But it's kind of all those qualities. But the biggest one that I think is most of all is discipline.
Yeah,
you learn that's something that you need to learn, and it's over a period of time.
So Brad and I were chatting earlier about how going into sort of retirement, but at 32 you don't call it retirement, you call it job transition from professional sport, is a very turbulent time because you spend 12 years, you spend the majority of your adult life, the part that you've gone from after school to now, focusing on professional sport, and it's as much as people don't think it is, it's a 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. You get up, we start our sessions 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. We're done by 4 o'clock. You've done 3 to 5 sessions at some point. You're broken. There is no, there's no side gig. So it's all rugby all the time until it's gone, and then the cliff that you fall off is steep. It's pretty steep, and. What we're discussing about discipline is that discipline to engage yourself in something physically testing. So I've decided to ride the Cape Epic, but it's something you can look up online. It's a mountain biking race next year, but it's like one of these really, really, really grueling things. Yeah. So 7-day race. But the idea behind it is that I get to put some structure back into my life. So now being all turbulent with not knowing, what direction I'm actually heading in, the fact that I can get in the gym and I've got something to train for the next 6 months gives me that discipline, gives me that focus, gives me the idea that here's a little bit more foundation to your life, and it's not all just wobbly and moving with the tides and the winds and everything like that. So sport's been a wonderful part of discipline. Discipline's huge. I mean, I heard somebody say discipline provides freedom. So I mean, you've got this discipline to get up earlier in the morning. You have the freedom to do more things in the day. And that's such an easy example, but I mean, it's an endless list of things. But for me, that discipline does provide freedom. Yeah, I agree with you totally, and it's so important because we just. Unfortunately, and I remember being so young and saying, when the adults used to say to you, you need to do this, you need to do this. Now I'm one of those grown-ups. You never got it then, you want to say to them, look, discipline. It's the biggest. I joined the army when I was still 15. I went to join the boy soldiers, and the discipline it gave me. No, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't easy. But it was the best time of my life. Yeah. And it's like, and I wanted to say to you as well was when your coach that picked you up. Those are the most important people that are out there sometimes. And I hear that story so much. Oh, he just noticed me, or this happened. It's like, for me, those are really the key stories. Yeah. So in almost every athlete, you're going to find some kind of game-changing person or moment. Yeah. And there's always somebody that had that, you walking down a pathway and they said, go this way, go that way, and that would result in a series of events that put you in the position that you currently are. Yeah. Or they would have said something, or they've shown a little bit of faith in you, or they believed in you, and those are the amazing stories. And what I'd like to know is, what did that person see? Yeah. That's always interesting, because we see ordinary people, they're just hacking away at sport the whole time, but they see something different. And they invest a little more time in that person than what anybody else did. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. You know where I know the producer's here in the room, and she's very young. Okay, and I say you've got that little sparkle dust, and it's just encouragement. It's just sometimes the smallest difference could make the biggest difference. Yeah. Do you know? Sure. And it's those little things where you notice a talent in somebody, and where people say we can all change the world and we could all do something. That is a perfect way of kind of changing the world, is identifying somebody and looking up and giving them a push and say, you've got real talent. And of course, then the ripples afterwards. You know, I mean, you could literally sit back there and watch how that person, like the effects that they have on the community around them, the people around them, and like kind of like that pay it forward kind of thing. You know, you've done a little bit, they do a little bit more, and the world gets slightly better because of that.
So when we're talking about this now, and this is really a good way to end the show, because the things that you're coming out with now, I'm just hoping that everybody's taking notice and listening to every word, because it's been an absolute pleasure and an honour to have you on the show.
Why were you nervous earlier? This is fantastic.
The thing with it is, I'm always, I'm not a sportsman, but I'm always trying to improve myself. Yeah. I'm always trying to look at it. Even at 53, I'm trying to look at it.
That's a good human nature.
Human nature.
Every single day we get up a little bit better. You know?
You've got it, and you don't know what's going to come. It's like I love the podcast beforehand because I think it's going to be a game. I said to you, how do you prepare? I used to prepare by just looking up and saying, I didn't speak to anybody. I was focused. I was trying to think what I was going to do. Yeah. What I was going to say. But then I look at it, and when people like yourself, I didn't need to say too much. It's like you have. It's been an absolute pleasure to have met you.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Dear me,
it's been good fun.
Wonderful. It was wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you, all you South Africans out there, give us a quick like, okay? Because it was a great one today. I thank you all for listening. It's been from a business perspective, and I do try to mix the two. Listen, you've just got to have the same attributes as an athlete, okay? You've got to go out there every single day and push. And if you're not pushing, you've got to ask yourself why. Because the opportunities, the coaches, the people that's going to get you to that next stage are the people that's going to be watching, okay? And you never know when they're going to be watching. So just work hard. Anyway, thanks for listening today. From me, it's bye-bye.